This demo is going to show you how to do a timeline animation and use your timeline for keyframing. So what we want to do is I just started up a new file and I want this to be 6x6, 150. It doesn't have to be that, but again, consider your resolution. And what I'm going to do is create a video timeline animation. Okay, from here, I'm just going to zoom in, kind of mess with this a little bit. I'm going to set myself up where I am 12 frames per second again. And you can always customize that, make sure your loop's on. What we're going to do here is I just want to pull in some images. So we're going to go to the web, and I think what I had done before was I pulled in stuff like space background and then some foreground images. So I'm going to go ahead and look up space background, and I'll just go with this one for now, something new. And I just want to drag that in. Okay, so it's going to be on its own layer. And one thing you do want to kind of consider, you want this thing actually to be bigger than your document because we're going to move it through it. So we're actually going to keyframe this thing to move through the whole document here. Oops. You can see my bounding box is pretty large there. So next thing we're going to do is I'm going to go and find some kind of a, I'm just going to do one image, but I'm going to find a PNG file, something I don't have to delete the background out of. Okay, it looks pretty good there. So what I want to do here is I'm going to create a keyframe animation in Photoshop. And how I'm going to do that is I want to drop down my layers, this little caret on the left side here, so I can see my position. These things, for style, I'm not exactly sure. You might be able to do like effects down in your layers right here, or possibly filters. But just the basics of how to keyframe in here. What you want to do is you want to kind of start somewhere. So I'm going to say position. I'm going to hit that little stopwatch, and it's going to mark for my sky here where it's going to be. So I'm going to say, all right, for this one, be on the left side. Then go ahead and move my playhead. I'm going to say, all right, at the end of this, I'm just going to go ahead and move it into its new spot, and then go ahead and test play it. So you can see there, I'm able to get this thing moving across the screen. Okay. So very simple keyframe. You can always move these keyframes around too. So if I wanted this to be faster and then create another one that does something else, you can make this thing loop if you kind of plan it out. There's some good tutorials up there about how to do like rain that just kind of loops through. With space, it might be a little bit more difficult just because you have, like a kind of a beginning and an end to the image that won't necessarily correlate if you stack it or kind of combine it. So, and then let's go like a really subtle movement for my Death Star. So at the beginning, I'll say, all right, I want it to be there. Now, the only kind of, bummer is you can't really do anything as far as rotation. If you rotate, then you're actually rotating the whole thing, and nothing's going to be different over time. So there we go. It's a really subtle movement for my space station there. And then you could have other stuff move in. Another little trick here, these things look fairly similar, they work, but you could also make adjustment layers. So if you go to layer, new adjustment layer, and let's go hue and saturation. This way I can kind of color grade my piece here. You can see how that goes on top, and it's going to affect any layer below it. So if I wanted this to be maybe a little bit more teal, or I wanted to drop the saturation out of the whole piece a little bit, I could do that. Okay, and then I have an animation, and it applied that color grade to the whole piece.